Hello, welcome back to a fresh new episode of Gentoo.
We're your favorite place for all things gaming and tech related.
And speaking of gaming news,
Shall we?
we shall.
The record-breaking game Palworld has been hit with a lawsuit by the video game giant Nintendo. Nintendo is suing Palworld for patent infringement in Japanese court. While the exact details of the lawsuit are a bit muddied and covered in legal lingo, it really boils down to the fact that Nintendo is suing Palworld for copying the base formula for Pokemon games. Like how the creatures are caught, evolve, and fight. While this is not the first lawsuit against Palworld by Nintendo, this time Nintendo is bringing a bit more heat. And more exciting news for Palworld, the developer Pocket Pair has signed a deal with PUBG's developer Krafton to bring Palworld to mobile platforms. While there is no release window on when we could see Palworld on mobile, we can hope that their latest lawsuit with Nintendo doesn't get in the way.
Diablo 4 is getting its first full expansion pack, Vessel of Hatred. In Vessel of Hatred, you continue your fight to defeat the prime evil Mephisto, try out the new Spiritborn class who can wield the power of mystical spirits, and explore the dense, lush jungles of Nahantu. Recruit new mercenaries, fight new enemies, delve into new dungeons, and more. While the new DLC for Diablo seems great, it comes at a staggering $40 for just the standard edition, with the deluxe and premium being $50 and $60 respectively. On top of that, it seems that the new story and campaign content will be locked behind this DLC, although all players will be receiving a free update with new class skills and new dungeons. Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred releases on October 8th.
Now to talk about OpenAI and its future.
OpenAI has closed another round of investment funding with a record haul of over $6.6 billion under the condition that OpenAI will become a for-profit company.
As of right now, the company's for-profit wing is overseen by a non-profit research group, and investor profits are currently capped at 100 times their value.
If OpenAI does not restructure to a for-profit company in 2 years, then investors are allowed to ask for their money back.
What a full restructure of OpenAI means for the future of ChatGPT is still unknown, but we can only hope it's for the best.
And that's all the time we have for news today.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below.
And now to crash into another of Corby's Content Corner.
Welcome back to Corby's Content Corner. Show where I talk about games I'm passionate about. Last episode I talked about Superhot, which I think was a simple game to ease you into what the shooting genre has to offer. And today I plan to continue this slow progression of intensity with the shooting game
Pistol Whip.
Pistol Whip is a rhythm-based VR shooter released by Cloudhead Games on the Oculus Quest and Microsoft Store on November 7th of 2019. If Superhot is a game about being a time-controlling John Wick, Pistol Whip is about being John Wick, who listens to music. Kind of like Zero from Katana Zero, where you just can't get to work without those sick beats playing. The way Pistol Whip is played is pretty simple. It puts you in the role of a guy who needs to get from point A to point B, while enemies spawn all around you who want you gone, all while set to various songs and all sorts of different settings and scenes. You are equipped with a pistol, or pistols, as well as a few other weapons, and have to shoot your way to the very end. There's only one catch. Don't get shot in the head. Your only hitbox is on your head, and funnily enough, everyone is trained to shoot at it. You must learn how to dodge bullets and shoot your enemies to the beat of the music in order to safely make it to the end. Sounds pretty fun, right? Pistol Whip is less of a story game and more of a high-score setting party game, with all sorts of fun modifiers and weapons to spice things up for the players. Now don't get me wrong, the game does provide a few stories, with its own cutscenes, weapons, and even boss fights. But that's not even half of what the game has to offer. It's more of a game made for community engagement and challenges to keep things fun and fresh. Pistol Whip was one of the first games I ever got on my Oculus Quest 2, and I've played it for countless hours. It has been compared to another popular VR rhythm game, Beat Saber, but with guns instead of lightsabers, which is essentially what it is. Pistol Whip got a 4.8 out of 5 rating on the Meta Store and is still getting updates to this day. If you own a VR headset, feel free to give it a try. I recommend it. And that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys next week. I feel like it's missing something. It needs more substance. What are you doing here? I'm editing. Oh, you want some sort of cinematic finale like the last episode? Newsflash, buddy. It's a thing called a budget, alright? I can't do that every single time. What are you, crazy? Don't sneak up on me like that. Jeez. Oh my gosh, where was I?
Hey man, I really love the world building in Cyberpunk. It's so great.
I know, and the voice acting really helps sell the story. I really
Voice
enjoy
acting,
it.
it's great. You know, we should check it out on Storylines.
Yeah, let's do it.
Welcome back to another episode of Storylines, the show where I talk about how the characters within the game aren't just faceless, non-playable characters, but massive story-building devices to the world around you. Let's dive into the storylines of these NPCs in Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk 2077 is a narrative-focused, character-driven action-adventure game released by the company CD Projekt Red. The game is set in the dystopian time of 2077 as you play as V, a mercenary just trying to make their way in Night City. After a job ends horribly, however, it leads you down the path of wondering if you will live or die. While playing, you really get into the heart of the dystopian nightlife of Night City, from the dazzling and vibrant lights of the world around you to the dark and gritty settings that really detail how depressing this bright city can be. The people within are colorful as well, as they really define the setting and emotion of the world around you. Goro Takamura is your typical corporation worker, as he is loyal to a fault to the Arasaka family, specifically Hanako Arasaka.
Hanako-sama, V is living proof of the terrible crime your brother committed.
You first meet him when he saves V from death and then helps them get back on their feet. Later, he then suggests telling Hanako that Yorinobu killed Sabaru, his father, and through this whole quest, V can bond with him from small text messages to full conversations of them bonding on small things. After talking with Hanako, V and Takamura are attacked, and it is up to your decision for V to either save him or let him die burning in the fire. Another NPC to talk about would be Panam Palmer. Panam is special as she is more of a brighter figure in the game compared to the dark setting of the game and is tied to a special ending. Through her, V meets and connects with her tribe and helps them make it out of Night City. V helps her become more than just a random nomad.
Maybe I could help out somehow.
I think you've helped enough.
I tried to stop him.
To becoming a leader of her family tribe.
Tomorrow I'll lead my whole clan to near certain death.
You feel responsible for them, and who in their right mind wouldn't?
At the end of the story, if you completed her own side quests, you could do a secret ending that ends with you riding off into the sunset with her and her tribe, becoming one with the nomads. Finally, the last NPC to talk about is Johnny Silverhand.
Wake the up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
Johnny is probably the most important NPC as he is with V throughout the entire game as a part of V's mind. At the beginning, all he wants to do is just take over V's body and live again, as Johnny has already died and been programmed into a little USB chip of some sorts. But as you progress through the game and let him take control at points, V can bond with him and have him become a more fleshed out individual who changes his ways and doesn't want V to die so he can live.
You're my friend, V. I'd never pull that on you. Never do you wrong.
By doing Johnny's own personal side stuff, V gives him closure and lets him be able to fully move on from afterlife and complete his story.
Goodbye, V.
That about wraps up for this week of Storylines. Join me next week for Persona 4 Golden, and I am your host, Logan Hill, signing off.
Dude, there's this monster in Monster Hunter that I just can't get past. Like, it's impossible, dude.
I know what you're talking about. I've been stuck on them for like a week, but you know, I've got this idea. I think it's gonna work out, okay? We're gonna take the initiative and go co-op.
All right, first day on the hunt. Let's do this. Welcome, friends, to the Co-op Initiative, where it's my mission to bring us all together. Obviously that means I had to leave my expedition early, but before I set out on a new adventure, how about I take you along with me and tell you about the wonderful co-op in Monster Hunter World, my favorite game of all time. Monster Hunter World was first blessed our screens back in 2018. Published by Capcom, Monster Hunter World is an action RPG in which you explore detailed environments, gather resources, and hunt the monsters found within in order to make weapons and armor from their parts, so you can then turn around and hunt bigger monsters with better equipment. It's this gameplay loop that has kept me coming back to this very day. But you don't have to do it alone, as you and up to 3 other hunters can join the fray, jumping that dragon that's been kicking your for 3 days. With that out of the way, let's lay some ground rules. I'll be reviewing this game's co-op gameplay based on 3 criteria. First is cooperation. How good is this game's mechanics while working within a team? A good co-op experience will have mechanics that enhance the gameplay, and a bad game will actively hinder your experience. Second is camaraderie. How fun is it to play with others? Is it better to stick together, or should you strike out on your own? Lastly is community. How important is communicating to your teammates, and how effectively can you communicate? Because I'm shy and I don't really want to talk to people. For cooperation, every hunter has the same universal mechanics, with the biggest difference being their weapon of choice. Weapons like the hunting horn can provide buffs for you and your allies, or your weapon may have a status element that can knock out, paralyze, or even poison the monster. There are items that can help everyone in the vicinity around you, cure status ailments, or even increase your critical damage. As long as you're in the fight, every hunter makes a difference. However, if you don't have my favorite skill, Flinch Free 1, this'll... Stop! In terms of camaraderie, there's no feeling as satisfying as when all 4 hunters are huddled around a monster, using their strongest combos and working in tandem to bring it down. It's especially important to fight together, because the monster's health and status build-up resistance scales with the amount of hunters in the hunt. This makes the hunt not only more fun because everyone gets to contribute more, but the monster would be absolutely steamrolled by the 4 baboons wanting the pelts of its friend. Lastly, for community, this is a game of observation and experience. Much like how you need to take a couple of hunts in order to learn a monster's patterns and weaknesses, it'll take a couple of hunts to understand the strategies used by other hunters to work effectively. And there's no easy way to communicate. There are text prompts that pop up when you do certain actions, but you still need your team to understand what to do with that information. It's a fantastic game if you're looking for a big game where you can really sink your teeth into. And with a hunter or 3 by your side, you can prevent big teeth from being sunk into you. Overall, Monster Hunter World will get a 4 out of 5 for cooperation, a 4 for camaraderie, and a 3 for community. That gives Monster Hunter World an 11 out of 15 on the co-op initiative, placing it in first place, obviously. And that's all the time I have for this week. Join me as I try to form the perfect team in Overwatch 2. Wish me luck.
Gabe, we have got to get out of here. It is stinky and gross, and we've got nothing to eat.
I know, I had to eat a rat the other day. It was probably the grossest thing I've ever done.
We need to get some jobs, but I don't know how to do that.
Wait, I heard Aaron's doing a thing over Job Simulator this week.
Oh, let's check that out.
Yeah.
Put on these glasses, and you'll enter the world of the game.
Hello everybody, and welcome to my reality. My name is Aaron, and you're watching Aaron's Reality, the only show where you can get educated and experience vertigo at the same time. In last week's episode, I was given a chance to swing around as fiction's greatest hero. This week, I decided to try out being a real hero. An essential worker. Job Simulator, the 2050 Archives. This game released back in 2016, and it has since cemented itself as a classic virtual reality experience. You're set in a world populated by floating CRT robots that are helping you experience the day-to-day lives of the average human. You can be an office worker, a store clerk, a gourmet chef, or an auto mechanic. Each job has its own story in which you complete a series of specified tasks. And if you're feeling particularly strapped for imaginary cash, you can utilize your training to complete endless tasks during infinite overtime. With such a cozy aesthetic, every little detail makes this simulation feel just that much better. This released the same year as the original commercially available Oculus Rift, and the developer, Alchemy Labs, were able to make the visuals still stand up by today's standards. Anything that's not strapped down can be interacted with. The stapler staple, the blender blends, and even the clothes clothe. The developer seems to think of every possible thing that someone would want to do. Level of detail earns a beautiful 9 out of 10. Don't we all yearn to work a 9 to 5? Spending your days filing papers, listening to the request of your employer, disregarding said request? Ah, that sure is the dream. Well, this sure does get pretty darn close. You're talked down to, you're jibbing customers. You're even able to use company resources for yourself. By having the word simulator in your name, there's a certain expectation to be immersive, and Job Simulator really delivers. This game even accommodates for kids and short kings, so the world can feel all that more realistic. Immersion is going to earn a solid 8 out of 10. All the best employees know how to get a job done while moving as little as possible. By being confined to your workstation, there's little room to move. There's no better way to avoid motion sickness than to have no motion too sick, even though I really want to walk over to the nice fishies. Motion sickless is a 9 out of 10. I wish we could have a simulation like this for every single job. Too often while recording, I'd forget I was supposed to be making a video and start doing a side thing. Between the clever writing and comforting nature of the bots, it's harder to put the game down than you'd expect. There's really not much else to say other than this is super fun. The vibes are going to go all the way up to a 9.5 out of 10. That, with the 2 9s and 8 from earlier, our average is going to come to a rounded score of 8.9 out of 10. In my opinion, that's pretty low overall. To me, Job Simulator is on the Mount Rushmore of VR games. Considering it released within a month of the original Oculus Rift, this game held up extraordinarily. This game sold well enough to warrant a sequel titled Vacation Simulator, which released 3 years later in 2019. You can download Job Simulator as well as its sequel on Steam, Meta, and PlayStation VR. Well, that's all for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you later.
Dude, did you watch Saturday to Sunday the other day? It was really close.
Was it? I did not catch the game. Was it really good?
Yeah, it was really good. You want to watch it?
Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
Hello everyone, my name's Kendall, and welcome to another episode of Saturday to Sunday, the show where we follow Dale Doback, a senior quarterback at the University of Oregon, as he plays through his final year of college football. A quick glance at this week's rankings, showing that we're still at the number 1 spot, and a look at the Heisman race, where I have taken the lead to win the award, and one of my teammates has also moved into the 3rd spot. This week, we hit the road for the first time this season, and we're in Corvallis, Oregon, to take on our in-state rival, the Oregon State Beavers. Like all games this year, this is another must-win to keep the record flawless and that number 1 spot. I also don't want to drop the last Oregon State game I play in either. First drive, we're looking to get in the end zone. After a few plays to get on their side of the field, I roll to my left on a play-action rollout and get smoked in the back by a defensive end that came off the edge completely unblocked. 2nd and 17, we gave the ball to the running back on a run in between the tackles to get us back to a manageable distance for 3rd down. On 3rd down, I'm hurried once again and unfortunately don't complete the pass, so we only come away with 3. To begin our next drive, we had called a run play, but I noticed the defense had put 7 guys in the box, so I audibled to a play where both of my tight ends on the line ran drag routes, and I was able to hit one for a nice gain. Our previous drive had stalled out, so we had to settle for 3 again. Our first play call was a read option with the slot receiver off to my right being the pitch man. My first read on this play is the defensive end. If he follows the running back, I take the ball, vice versa. On this play, he follows the running back, so I pull it. My next read is a defensive back lined up on the receiver. If he targets me, I pitch it to the receiver, but if he follows the receiver, I keep it. He targets me, so I pitch the ball, then tragedy strikes. My receiver completely misses the ball, and the defense is able to recover the fumble and house it for 6. With 2 minutes to go before halftime, I knew we needed to score before they had a chance to put this game out of reach. We lined up, and I noticed that the cornerbacks were pressed up on my receivers, so I audibled to a deep pass. Sure enough, I was able to find my receiver for 6. After Oregon State's 3rd quarter touchdown, we were down by 8. We were able to march down the field and use our running back to punch it in for 6 and fail on the 2-point try. After an Oregon State interception, we were lined up on their 3-yard line, and after a couple failed run plays, we were able to punch it in with some wildcat. The remainder of the game was filled with 3 and outs by both teams. Thankfully, we were able to take a knee and get out with a win. A poor performance from me kept me from winning my 3rd Player of the Game award. Next week, we are on the road once again to take on the Utah State Aggies. Hope to see you all then.
Kirsten, what are you doing here?
What do you think I'm doing here? Making TikToks? And it's not about what I do. It's about what we do here. So we start with storyboarding the content we want to create for our clients. It could be anyone from small businesses, nonprofits, and organizations both on campus and in the Maryville community. We write, we film, we edit, we create, and then we wait. So if you're someone who thinks you need us, we are KNWT Creative Services.
Stay on top of current events and the biggest stories of the week with Northwest News. Welcome back to Northwest News. I'm Skylar Stamps.
And I'm Wiley Ray.
Get all the latest news coverage and updates about Northwest, the Maryville community, and ways you can stay involved on and off campus. Northwest News every Monday at 8 a.m. on KNWT TV.
You know, I learned something this week.
What'd you learn?
Mario has hoops.
Mario hoops?
Yeah, let's look at it.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Tayden Hensley, and this is Forgotten Games. Mario. We all know and love him. He is Mr. Video Game himself, after all. The Italian plumber has participated in a lot of sports, like tennis, soccer, baseball, and even went to the Olympics with Sonic the Hedgehog a few times. But most of you guys know that. But does anyone remember when Mario was ballin' in 2006? Mario Hoops 3-on-3 was released on September 11, 2006 in the US and developed by Square Enix and published by Nintendo on the Nintendo DS. The game is about Mario and friends playing 3-on-3 basketball. If the company Square Enix sounds familiar, it's because they created games like Kingdom Hearts, Dragon Quest, and Final Fantasy. The reason why I mention this is because Mario characters aren't the only characters in the game, as Mario Hoops 3-on-3 also includes Final Fantasy characters Moogle, Black Mage, White Mage, Ninja, and Cactuar. The gameplay uses both the Nintendo DS touchscreen or the buttons, whichever is most comfortable. The basketball games are 2-minute halves where you need to pass, dribble, shoot, steal, or block to win the game. There are also items that you can use to mess up your opponents all over the court. There are also item blocks where if you dribble the ball over them, you can collect coins, and then if you make the basket, the coins will be added to your points. But be careful, if someone hits you with an item block or steals the ball from you, you will lose some of those coins, if not all of them. Depending on where you're standing, you can shoot a normal shot, special shot, or a slam dunk, as each character has their own special dunk. Mario Hoops 3-on-3 features different game modes. Challenge mode, where it's just learning about the basics of the game, like a tutorial. Exhibition, where you can change the rules to your liking and just play a normal game of basketball. Tournament mode, where you and your team try to climb your way up the ladder and win the trophy, then compete in the final tournament where you'll face Final Fantasy characters. And once you beat them, you'll unlock hard mode and can do the tournament again. Then you have multiplayer mode, which is very limited as both players must have a copy of the game, and you can only play mini games and not full-on basketball games. We can't talk about Mario Hoops 3-on-3 without talking about the soundtrack, as it's some of the best in Mario sports games. The music was mainly composed by Masayoshi Soken, as the soundtrack covers many different genres. These are some of my personal favorites. Even though Mario Hoops 3-on-3 received mixed reviews, it is still a great game I recommend playing as it deserves a lot more attention. But that's all the time I got. I'm Tayden Hensley, and this has been Forgotten Games.
Have you heard of that Karen or Sharon?
I don't know a Karen, but I know a Sharon.
A Sharon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it Sharon that's been taking out all of our people?
Yeah,
like,
she really has, and it's not in a good way.
Yeah, not a great way at all.
Do you want to learn about her a little bit? We can actually kind of see what
Where
goes
at?
on. Dude, we can learn about it on Descendant 101.
Okay.
Let's learn.
암살자에게 가장 중요한 건 절대로 목표를 놓지.
Welcome back to episode 3 of Descendant 101. It's a good thing you're here this time, because this week's Descendant is going to save you a lot of time and frustration when it comes to getting more weapons and characters. This episode is about the silent assassin, Sharon. Sharon serves a very unique purpose in this game due to her being the only current character who is capable of stealth. Sharon's entire design is focused around doing Vulgus outposts, an open-world public event that allows you to destroy an outpost and reap materials from it. But if you have Sharon, you could double these rewards by infiltrating the outpost without being seen. And this comes in handy when you want a piece for a Descendant or a weapon, but it's locked behind a boss you aren't quite capable of fighting yet. So put that cloak on, shut down those reactors before the time runs out, and profit. And though Sharon's design is mostly catered around these outposts, she's still a fun character to play outside of those. So how does she work? Sharon's first ability is called Cut-Off Beam. It's a small wrist sword charged with electricity that's basically just a more useful melee. Her second is her most important, Invisibility. For a short time, Sharon will disappear from enemies' line of sight, allowing you to reposition, run away, or revive hassle-free. And this plays a big part into her passive ability. More on that later. Her third is a stun bulb called Shock Nuts. When Sharon shoots it at an enemy, they will temporarily become stunned in place, which makes them an easy target for headshots. Her fourth is a knife storm called Flash Short Sword. A small targeting HUD will appear as well as a bundle of knives, and once you activate it, Sharon will send them soaring through the air into multiple enemies at once, or one singular enemy for high damage. And her passive, Assassinator, is what makes her a deadly flanker. If you kill an enemy while invisible, it will automatically recharge your invisibility's cooldown upon a kill, as long as you use one of your other abilities to do it. So you can really throw off enemies mid-fight by turning invisible again after you just used it. But this passive itself also has a cooldown, so just keep an eye on that. I haven't had as much time to sit down and tweak Sharon as much as everyone else, but I found that she performs best in public events or Call of the Descendant missions. She's best around other players since she's a great flanker and can easily revive downed allies. But if you want to try and solo a boss with her, just good luck on that. There's way better options for boss DPS. But I still highly recommend every player has her in their roster, just so they can properly do outposts and get more materials from them. It'll save you a lot of time in the future. That's all I got this week. In the coming weeks, we'll have a lot more fun with some of my personal favorite Descendants in the game, especially with a big content update coming to the game mid-October. See you next week. This has been Zach on Gentoo, signing off.
And that's all we have for this week.
Man, those shows were great.
I know, I honestly can't pick a favorite.
Why don't you guys tell us down below in the comments?
And while you're down there, don't forget to drop a like on the show and hit that subscribe button.
We'll see you guys around.
Bye.